Good afternoon, fifth graders. This is the math lesson for Thursday, April 23rd and Friday, April 24th. It is section 9.3 and it is titled Problem Solving, Use a Map. It is on page 238 and 239 in our math books. We're going to be focusing on in these two pages, they're going to have word problems. And before I start with this, remember when you're solving a word problem, there are multiple steps. One, you need to figure out what the question is going to be. The question, you read the paragraph and it usually tells you at the very end. For example, it could say, what is the shortest street route from there to point 7 North Street? So usually when you get words of what, that's indicating the question. So you got to figure out what they're trying to ask. What do they want you to answer? Two, the second step would be to identify all the facts, the numbers. It could be numbers like miles, how many dollars. You want to figure out the numbers. Step 3 would be eliminate the distractors. There are some information in a question. Sometimes it has nothing to do, or in the paragraph has nothing to do with what they're asking you. And then you want to determine what order of operation you're going to be doing. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. And then you want to answer the question. So just take that in factor when you're answering these problems. So let's get to this. The map, if you look on page 238, there is a street map of Syracuse on the top of page 238. And then you'll see in the top, there's a little key on the top. We all know we measure everything in our roads in miles. Distance to, if we're on vacation, like if I'm going to Myrtle Beach, it may say 490 miles to Myrtle Beach. I know that's not the exact mile route, but that's an example. A mile is so many feet. So when you're reading a map, the map is not to the scale, which means the map is too small. There's no way you can make a map in the scale of miles. So you have to break it down to where the map is represented in 2 miles. And we're going to see that today. So there are 3 types of map scales. We call verbal scale, visual scale, representative scale. A verbal scale is the words. For example, scale expressed in words. So it may say 1 inch on a map equals 1 mile. A visual scale is that 1 inch and 1 mile put into a scale. They'll say this scale right here, this distance on the map may equal 1 mile. Now, it's different. If you look, it'll say 1 inch equals 1 mile, or it'll say this equals a mile, or this equals 10 miles. It depends on how big the map is. It could be a map of a town. You usually don't do it in miles, but if it's a map of a country, you may get that little inch saying every inch is 100 miles because it has to fit the scale. All right, and then finally, it's called representative fraction. You'll see a fraction sometime. You'll look at the top, right under that 1 mile visual scale, you'll see a fraction. It says 1 in 63,360. That means map distance divided by ground distance. So one of these equals 63,360 inches. Because a map, if you would do there's so many, there's only so many feet in a mile. It's over 5,000 feet. I'm not going to say because I don't have the exact figures. It's over 5,000 feet. But if you divide that or multiply that, because there are 12 inches in a foot, that it means that there's 63,360 inches in 1 mile. So that's what that means. So if we look on the bottom of page 238, it's going to ask you 3 questions. Name the 3 types of scales. I'm not going to say it, but name the 3 types of scales. 2, explain why the representative fraction that's down here for the scale of 1 inch equals 1 in 63,360. I kind of just mentioned that. You may pause it and revert back a little bit and help you answer. And then using the map symbols, name the interstates, highways, state highways, parks, and points. On a map, you've learned through states and capitals that a star equals on a map of a state tells you the state capital. There's landmarks like state parks, rivers, oceans, ponds, lakes, major roads, interstates. Like you got a map, sometimes a map's only going to give you major highways and major roads. If you get a local map, they'll give you all the little sub roads, like Saxonburg Road's a main road, or Caldwell Drive, substantive. So tonight, what I want you to do for homework, tonight into tomorrow, 239, answer all the questions 1 through 6. If you have any questions, please let me know. And until next week, God bless and take care.